Top Gun, a flight of life in the clouds that has plenty of turbulence, yet weathers the storms, sometimes with grace, and sometimes you're just happy to be alive. So, Top Gun. Top Gun. Action drama, directed by Tony Scott, starring Tom Cruise, of course. We've got Kelly McGillis, Anthony Edwards, a little bit of Val Kilmer, and of course, more than that, we've got some others in there too. It was released in 1986, the year I was born. Yeah, Top Gun. What is it? It is a little romantic. It is soft. It is fun, but it has suspense and action. It's sentimental. I would call it just a soft action movie. And I think it's one of those things that it's a quintessential, it's very 80s. It just seems to be like an 80s phenomenon that I don't see very very much anymore. It's just it's just so 80s in the best way possible. Like it's good. But it's one of those things where like, okay, so first of all, no spoilers. I'll give you some information, but actually, no, that's not true. There will be spoilers, but again, that'll be later. I just realized I've got to get into a spoiler here to really tell you what I love about this movie. I'll tell you what I love about it before then, but spoilers will happen, but I will let you know. Okay, so like I said, soft action is how I would put it. But again, like a very 80s phenomenon. So, I mean, okay, so what is Top Gun? I mean, Top Gun, why is it even called Top Gun? Basically, there's a team of aviations, of the pilots, of fighter pilots in the Navy that it's like top tier, top class. They call them Top Gun. Like, that's just, they are the best of the best of the best, and they basically end up going to, like, a special school just to be the best of the best. They are training. They are not in war times. So that's the thing. This is not a war film. I would say that it's a soft action film because we've got a lot of sentimental stuff. It's telling the story of an underdog, which is what I love. I love underdog films for sure, and I feel like so many of the best 80s movies or ones that I really like are really about the underdog, which is funny to see Tom Cruise. The way you think of Tom Cruise, you don't really think of him as an underdog. But he is. And it's one of those things, too, where, I mean, I immediately think of Karate Kid with, like, what's that song by Joe Esposito? I don't remember what it's called. Maybe it's just called The Best or The Best Around. But it's just like the anthem for that movie. And I just think of that here, of just like being the best, like being an underdog, but wanting to prove yourself and being the best. It's just like, it's not like that way of just being the best you can be. It's like, no, showing everyone you're the best, but you're coming from this underdog place. So it's like not in arrogance. It's just like, it is about being the best you, but it's having something to prove, right? And sometimes having a chip on your shoulder when like there's different ways to execute it, but. Yeah, we've got a great soundtrack. I mean, it can't be, one of those classic 80s movies without a little, oh my goodness, I forgot his name. Kenny Loggins. That's who I was thinking of. But anyway, yeah, we've got some Kenny Loggins on here, so that's classic. And it's not a conceptual film by any means. This is, we've got action and fun, some suspense, some romance, like I said. You'll learn a little thing about yourself, you know what I mean? Not you, but I mean like our main characters have some life lessons to go through, which we'll get more into during the spoilers. But it's definitely not, I don't think it's very soul-searching. I don't think you're going to come out of this being like, oh my goodness, I really need to take stock of my life and who am I? And I don't think it's going to push you to necessarily really, really search inside of yourself for who you are and who you need to be. I think that it gets me amped. Like, it gets me pumped because we see the underdog kind of like do their thing, and we see people rise above challenges, and we see someone in conflict, navigating that conflict, right? And it's just done in a way, man, it's such a stylish film. Like, yes, it's the 80s, but it's just, I mean, we've got these friggin' fighter jets, and we've got ocean scenes, and we've got mountains, and it's a beautifully shot film. It just has a certain style to it. I mean, there's just a lot of great choices that were made here. So kudos to Tony Scott and the rest of the crew there that designed this film. And obviously the writing as well. But yeah, again, it's not going to be anything too heavy, but it's got some real life moments in there and some stuff that again, there's like a sentimental value here. It's so interesting. I just realized on this watch, because like I had never seen the full thing since. Well, no, that's not true. I think I saw the full thing like when I was like 8 years old, maybe. Like I don't know why it came around again then, but I remember it was like the very first sleepover I ever had, and we had root beer floats, and then we watched this movie, and I don't really remember a lot of it from then. If I even made it through the whole thing, I don't even remember. It was the first time I had a root beer float too, and that was tasty. Thanks, Ian's mom. I don't even remember Ian's last name, but peace to you. Yeah. It's funny because like I'm talking about like nostalgia and stuff and thinking about things softly, but it's just interesting how it has this quality, because it's not like this hard balls to the wall action, like crazy fast paced. Like, it has interesting pacing for sure that keeps you hooked, but has this I mean it's none of the adjectives I gave it were drama. There is a little bit of that, but I mean, just because there's conflict in life, whether it be with romance and relationships or friendships or like just life throwing conflicts at you, but it doesn't feel like a drama. There's not high, it's definitely not a high drama by any means, and even not a high suspense. But there are definitely moments where it's like, what is going to happen right now? Like those action moments that are kind of extended, because it's not like a fighting scene. It's just very unique, because we've got these fighter pilots that are highly skilled and trained, and they're up in the air, and this is an incredibly dangerous job, and they're putting themselves out there, and there's so much about that culture too that I think some of that peeks through here for sure. So, I mean, who is this for? Before I get to spoilers, because I really do want to talk about that to just kind of accentuate some things that I love about the film and what it does. I would say this is for people who love 80s movies and the story of the underdog, about wanting to be the best, who aren't necessarily seeking anything too conceptual. It's not an art film. It's not, it's not something that's going to really push you and challenge you. But I think that it gets you hype in a certain way. I think it makes you want to just be like, oh man, like hell yeah, like I want to do that, or something equivalent to that. It's almost like if you're watching like I don't want to say Fast and the Furious, but some type of like racing movie. Like it's got some fast paced stuff happening. We've got some definitely high action sequences, but they're not. I mean, there are some explosions. I mean, we've got fighter jets, right? So I mean, but I think it's really unique in that aspect, because it's not a war movie. It doesn't carry that same weight of like, we're going out there, we're killing people, and it doesn't have that weight to it, right? So I would say it is a lighter movie. It has some real life moments and some conflicts that you need to navigate and get through. But it is a feel good movie. It's just not necessarily a family friendly feel good movie, but it's not overly vulgar or anything either. It's just adult stuff. We've got relationships, friendships, and romantic ones too. Anyway, so I don't think it's an important movie by any means, and I think its function is to inspire somewhat, but not intellectually inspire, not really, but maybe. But it's a good thriller, but not in a dark way, not in a psychological way by any means. It's just got some, again, soft action. If you want a soft action, if you want an 80s movie, if you want the story of the underdog, and you've got this unique thing of just like it's being built around this setting of these fighter pilots, I would say it's for you. It's pretty cool. And again, very stylish movie. It is high on my shelf. I would not say it's top shelf, but it is. Sorry, Top Gun, you're not top shelf. It's corny. But it's pretty high on my shelf. Just because it's got all those elements that I really dig, and they're executed very well. Now we're getting into some spoilers real quick before I sign off here. So, again, spoilers are happening, a big one. So, Maverick, played by Tom Cruise, our main character, he's got his best friend, Goose, played by Anthony Edwards, and Goose dies, right? Like, there's, like, this incident where he's trying to eject, and he, like, ejects right into, like, the cap of the plane doesn't pop off or whatever. I don't know exactly what malfunctioned there, but, and he's dead, and Maverick has to deal with that. And that's part of this underdog story that makes it, like, it gives it this extra layer, this extra element of, like, your best friend just died, and you're already, like, in this crazy position as a fighter pilot. Like, is already a scary thing. You've seen other people in the movie drop out of the school, right? I mean, like, no, I got a family and kids. Like, I can't be doing this. Like, and there's such a mental game there, right? It's, like, so mental more than it is, like, a physical thing. That yes, you do need to have certain physical attributes in order to do your job to the best of your ability, but also it's just so mental of just, like, you need to be confident when you are in the air. And, like, he already has all these things to prove. He already does things, like, not by the book and not by the rules and whatever, right? But he's shaken by this, right? He doesn't have the confidence, and then someone believes in him, and then he's able to push through that. But I think that it expresses this kind of bromance, if you want to call it that, in this interesting way for an 80s film too, where things weren't as open, definitely, and there's much more stereotypes being shown of, like, what male relationships should be. And it's just a different era, right? Just a different time where things weren't as open as now with masculinity and being sensitive and things of that nature. But this movie definitely has some of that. I mean, it's definitely balanced by, Tom Cruise playing more of, like, a bad boy in a way who doesn't... Whatever, he's running from something, right? And that's shown here. And again, it's just got a certain sentimentality and softness, vulnerability that I think is great. But again, he's navigating the death of his best friend, and, like, barely takes any time off in the movie, and is able to get through that and push through and be confident and graduate with his class. And that's the funny thing about, like, oh, it's about being the best, and it's like, well, no, in this aspect he just did the best he could, and he was still rewarded for that. And I think that is great. I think that's one of those things you don't see in that era very much at all. It's more of, like, either you're number one or you're garbage. Right? If you're not first, you're last. So I think that he was wanting to be the best, and he wasn't the best in his class because this thing happened, but they were just happy that he showed up at the end to, like, graduate, that he was able to do that. And he knows, like, it's one of those things, he's like, I know that I'm the best. Like, and I think we think that too. But it's another reason why I just love this movie. So, Top Gun.